Welcome to The Explainer. Let's just jump right into it, because today we're unpacking a truly paradigm-shifting lesson on wealth building. We spend so much of our lives working, earning, and spending, right? But very few of us actually take a step back to ask, wait, am I building my own wealth or someone else's? Today we're looking closely at a fundamental financial concept from Robert Kiyosaki's framework, specifically focusing on how we define our business versus our profession. If you've ever felt like you're working incredibly hard, but somehow just not getting ahead financially, the concepts we're about to cover might literally be the missing puzzle piece you've been searching for. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with a surprising story about McDonald's, break down a common financial myth about your profession, build a playbook for acquiring true assets, examine exactly how the rich afford their luxuries, and wrap up with a clear action plan. Section 1. The Ray Kroc Secret. This is an unforgettable lesson from a 1974 MBA class at UT Austin. So, picture this. It's 1974. McDonald's founder Ray Kroc has just finished delivering this powerful, inspiring talk to an MBA class. Afterwards, the students invite him out to their favorite local hangout for a few beers. Ray graciously accepts. And as they're all sitting around with their drinks, he looks around the table and asks them a seemingly obvious question. What business am I in? Well, everyone laughed. Most of the students thought Ray was just messing with them. When no one answered, he asked it again. Finally, one brave student yells out, "Ray, who in the world doesn't know that you're in the hamburger business?" Ray chuckled. He totally expected that answer. But then he hits them with a massive reality check. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not in the hamburger business. My business is real estate." Ray explained that while his operational focus was obviously selling hamburger franchises, he never lost sight of the actual wealth generator, and that was the location of each franchise. He knew the land was the biggest factor in their success. When someone bought a franchise, they were effectively buying the real estate right underneath it for Ray Kroc's organization. Because of this brilliant strategy, McDonald's became the largest single owner of real estate in the world. They own some of the most valuable intersections on the planet, literally surpassing the Catholic Church in real estate holdings.
Which brings us to Section 2, Profession versus Business. The golden rule here? Don't confuse what you do with what you own.
This story perfectly illustrates a massive secret of the wealthy. You must mind your own business. And doing that requires completely rewiring how we think about our daily work. Consider the difference between a profession and a business. You might be a banker, a chef, an auto mechanic. That's your profession. But your business, that would be actually owning the bank, owning the restaurant, or owning the garage. You see, our traditional education system trains us brilliantly for a profession. We study cooking, we become a chef. We study law, we become an attorney. But we're trained to work for wages. And in doing so, we spend our entire lives making the company owners rich, paying taxes that make the government rich, and paying mortgages that make the banks rich. We entirely forget to own the business ourselves.
So, what does minding your own business actually mean? It means making your financial life revolve around building your asset column, not just your income statement. When people say, "Man, I really need a raise," or "I'm going back to school to get a better job," or "I've got to work some overtime," they're entirely focused on the income column. But true financial security, that requires building your asset column.
Section 3. Building your asset column. Let's talk about what an actual asset really is.
Clinging to a job and relying on what the middle class considers safe assets is a dangerous trap. Let's look at a prime example of this illusion. 25%. Many people consider a brand new car an asset, right? They even list it on their bank loan applications. But a new car loses nearly 25% of the price you paid for it the absolute second you drive it off the dealership lot. It is not a true asset, it's a liability eating you alive with depreciation. The author even notes that his brand new $400 titanium golf driver dropped to $150 the moment he took his first swing.
And this is exactly why the traditional banking definition of net worth is incredibly dangerous. The author jokes that net worth is often worth less than you think. And it's true. Because if you fall on hard times and have to raise cash by selling off your personal effects, your Armani suits, your golf clubs, your cars, you're only going to get a tiny fraction of their listed value. And hey, if you do somehow manage to sell an asset for a gain, the government steps right in and taxes you on it, leaving you with even less.
So what should we actually be buying? The true definition of real assets isn't designer shoes or expensive wristwatches. It's businesses that do not require your physical presence. Let me repeat that. If you have to be there, it's a job, not a business. Real assets are stocks, bonds, income-generating real estate, notes, and royalties from intellectual property, like music or patents. Basically, anything that has value, produces passive income, appreciates, and has a ready market.
I absolutely love the mindset shift in this quote. Once a dollar goes into your asset column, it becomes your employee. Think about how powerful that is. You want to put dollars into this column and build an absolute fortress around them. Never let them come out. The best thing about money acting as your employee is that it works 24 hours a day. It doesn't need sleep, it never asks for a vacation, and it can literally work for generations to come.
Moving to Section 4, the truth about luxuries. Let's see how the long-term rich actually reward themselves. Now, keeping your day job and diligently building these assets doesn't mean you have to live this miserable life of deprivation where you can never have nice things. But there's a distinct difference in how the financially intelligent afford their luxuries. The poor and middle class buy luxuries impulsively, usually on credit, just to look rich right now. They buy the massive house, the diamonds, the boat, and they pay for it with their own sweat, their own blood, and frankly, their children's inheritance. Meanwhile, the old money, long-term rich operate completely differently. They build their asset column first. Then, and only then, do they let the passive income generated from those assets buy the luxuries.
Let me give you a fantastic real-world example. The author's wife, Kim, really wanted a new Mercedes, but she didn't just run down to the dealership and sign her life away on a massive car loan. Instead, she waited for 4 whole years. She spent that time growing her real estate investment portfolio until it began generating enough extra passive cash flow to completely pay for the car. The apartment house literally bought her the Mercedes. Because of that incredible discipline, the car became a true reward for her financial intelligence, rather than just another resentful burden tied to debt.
Okay, Section 5, Lesson Summary and Action Steps. Let's break down exactly what is said in this lesson and, more importantly, what should be done. So what is said? Here are the core takeaways. We've learned that financial struggle is almost always the direct result of spending your entire life working for someone else. Our schools mistakenly focus us entirely on the income column, preparing us for professions instead of actual business ownership. We learn that relying on traditional net worth is mostly an illusion filled with depreciating liabilities. And finally, true financial security only comes from acquiring real assets that generate income independently 24/7 without your physical labor. Based on all of that, what should be done? Here is your 3-step action plan. Step 1, keep your daytime job. You don't need to quit and start some risky startup to be an entrepreneur. Just be a great employee for now. Step 2, keep your expenses low and radically reduce your liabilities. Stop buying things that lose value the second you take them home. And Step 3, diligently build a base of solid assets. Start putting your dollars to work as your tiny employees long before you ever inflate your lifestyle.
I want to leave you with this final, absolutely vital thought to reflect on as we wrap up this explainer. You have your profession. You might be a fantastic, hardworking employee, a great chef, a brilliant banker. But are you truly minding your own business? Are you building a fortress in your asset column that's going to take care of you and your family for generations? It's time to start making your money work for you. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.